Hello and welcome to Star Wars Breaking Canon, a podcast where we break down and analyze each live-action entry in the Star Wars universe, from the original trilogy to The Mandalorian and beyond. I'm James Callahan.
I'm Joseph McCorkle.
I'm Julius Freeman.
And on today's episode, we're discussing 2005's Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, written and directed by George Lucas. Guys, it's the end of the prequels.
Thank God.
Okay, so as far as I understand it, picking up from where we left off with Attack of the Clones, which was Julius's favorite of the Star Wars movies, right?
Absolutely, my absolute favorite of the three.
You were like, this movie's so good, I just don't ever need to see a Star Wars movie again. So you just didn't see Revenge of the Sith for 15 years.
For 15 years, that's right. I refused to watch Revenge of the Sith because I just knew it was going to be terrible and I didn't want to waste my money or my time to watch something that I knew was going to be bad. And also, in a lot of ways, it was a lot like, it's almost like seeing like a loved one go down to, or like succumb to addiction, to a terrible addiction. And you just have to let them go because no matter what you do, no matter what you try to do to help them, break their addiction that's deadly to them, you just have to let it go. And that's exactly what I was doing here. I was like, I want to remember Star Wars the way I remember it. I don't want to leave Star Wars with a bad taste in my mouth like Episode 2. So I decided not to watch it for 15 years.
Before we get into your thoughts on the movie, because I want to come to you last because you were the last person to see it. I kind of think that there's an interesting thing about age and also cycles of backlash. And see, kind of where you were at when Attack of the Clones came out, that's where I was at, like, consciously, when Revenge of the Sith came out. And even though I went to go see the movie and I saw it opening day, I kind of went in primed to just be like, whatever, don't give a shit, and then just, leave Star Wars alone forever. I think Lucas at that time had even been hyping the movie up as like, this is it. There's no more Star Wars movies. And, this is the last one. And I do distinctly remember seeing the movie back in 2005 and walking out and thinking, this movie was an improvement over the first two, but it's too little too late, George. I don't care anymore. And I was done with Star Wars for a solid half decade. Joseph, what was your reaction to seeing Revenge of the Sith for the first time? And has your opinion on the film changed at all since? How do you feel about it now? Let's start with you.
I cannot actually recall the first time I saw this film, which kind of shows you the level of interest I was at that point. I think I had a similar slope downwards that Julius had. After, as we said in the last episode, Attack of the Clones was like our film. It was our release. It was our chance to shine. And 3 years later, we're over it.
Yeah, 3 years is a long time to wait for a film, especially, if you look at it these days. I mean, interest wanes very quickly. And I can definitely see that.
When I did first see it, my reaction was, oh, this is just the third in a bunch of crap movies. But I didn't give it another chance until we started this podcast. And I did watch it a couple months ago. And I wanted to note something interesting, which is that since getting into the prequel trilogy and kind of accepting it for what it is, and also delving into the extended canon stuff, especially Clone Wars, God, this film hit a lot different after watching 40 hours of Clone Wars. I actually felt quite a bit of heartbreak for the Obi-Wan Anakin story and how that turned out. And
yeah.
I mean, I think in any case, this film is better than Attack of the Clones.
I have a lot to say about this film, and I'm actually really excited to talk about it because I do think it is clearly the best of the three prequels by a wide margin. And I kind of don't know where you guys stand, but Julius, so you saw the film recently for the first time, and I'm assuming you rewatched it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this movie now? It's kind of like the freshest Star Wars movie to you, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. I actually will agree with you that it is the best of the three, for sure. Better than Phantom and way better than Attack of the Clones, for sure. But not by a wide margin. I would say
Okay.
maybe a slim margin, just a
Okay.
little small step up, but still a step up. And like you said earlier, too, a little too little, too late. Because I feel that if Lucas would have continued on making movies, he would have hit his stride after this one. Because I felt like, ooh, he's almost there. By the end of it, I was like, gosh, he was right there. He was right there. He was just really close to getting every getting it, I guess, right? And he just, I guess that was it. He didn't want to make any more movies after episode 3, which was, I think, a mistake. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I did episode 2. It still missed a lot of marks for me in terms of the acting and the writing. A lot of the writing was still pretty bad, but not as bad as episode 2. Um, that opening sequence, though, man, whew, what a great opening sequence! I really reverted back to my childhood in that space battle in the opening sequence of episode 3, because it was just so well done. It finally felt like Star Wars for me when I watched those first 5 minutes.
It's a literal Star War.
It was awesome too. It was great. I was like, wow, man, this is what I wanted in episode 1 from the get go. I wanted this kind of stuff. And like you said, too little, too late. But we'll talk more about more detail as we go down the movie.
Well, going back to that opening shot, there's a real sense of urgency there. There's a real sense of purpose that I think was actually lacking in The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. I think that Lucas was kind of rusty as a filmmaker, and the cobwebs kind of showed in those 2 films. They're very clunky, and when you look at Revenge of the Sith, at least for me, the impression that I get is that it seems even more clear that he should have handed directing duties of the first 2 films off to other filmmakers, because he just wasn't into it the way that I think you need to be into it to dedicate yourself fully to this, 10-year endeavor of directing 3 films. And he finally figures it out, I think, in this movie. And I don't know, I think that any of the problems that this movie has from a storytelling perspective are because of the shortcomings of The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. But I think it makes up for a lot of it. There's a lot of great decision making that's done in this movie, and starting with that opening shot, which is one of the most incredible, visceral things I think in all of Star Wars, and just even the first act, which is just this really incredible rescue mission to save Palpatine, which is I feel like the first half hour of this movie is just better than everything in the first 2 movies.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Maybe not 100%. I would say maybe 70%, because I still have my problems with it, but over like for the majority of it, yeah, it was awesome like that. For instance, like that scene when Anakin, those heat-seeking missiles or whatever, and Anakin does that spin.
Yeah.
That was cool. I was like, dude, that was badass right there. That was like, that's the Anakin Skywalker I wanted to see, the pilot, right? The great, awesome pilot.
Yeah, for sure.
And
for sure.
but there's still some little problems, like like Obi-Wan's line, "I have a bad feeling about this," before he crashes. It's like, really, George? Did we really have to? Did you really have to put that stuff down? Come
Hey, there
on.
has to be one in every Star Wars movie.
And I did like that. R2 was utilized a lot more in this in the opening sequence, when he was when he ended up with the pile of droids, and drowning them. That was cool. I was like, hey, all right, this is cool. I'm digging this. I'm actually digging this stuff here. So yeah, I would say 70% of it I still enjoyed, but like I said, I still have my problems with it.
Yeah, the humor feels a little bit more natural. I think that the actors feel a little bit more like they're comfortable. I'm going to say something really controversial here. I actually think Hayden Christensen's performance is not that bad in this movie. Like, it's not great, but I think it is so much better than Attack of the Clones. And even though I think you can absolutely nitpick the performance, I buy his performance in this movie, especially towards the end. I think that I don't know, like maybe it's just I've gotten older and a little bit softer. I buy into the tragedy of his character arc, and I think that Hayden Christensen kind of sells it a little bit more in this movie. And you see it kind of off the bat. Like, he's an interesting protagonist to follow. I like his interactions with Obi-Wan, his interactions with Palpatine, all there in the beginning. Did you guys think that his performance was better in this film?
I think it's more like the material has caught up to his performance. He is making a series of terrible decisions and just generally having like bad fortune fall upon him. So like finally his demeanor finally matches the circumstances that he's in.
That's a good point of view. I was also thinking too while I was watching it, I was like, well, there's nowhere to go but up after Attack of the Clones, so maybe that's why I'm feeling that way. But
Yeah, it was slightly better, but not leaps or bounds by any means. And I know Hayden Christensen can act. I know he's a good actor. I've seen him in other films, like for instance, I don't know if you guys ever seen the movie Shattered Glass. He plays a reporter who works for the Atlantic Monthly, I believe. No, not Atlantic Monthly. The New Republic, and
okay.
he gets caught lying, making up stories and publishing them on the New Republic. And he plays this guy named Stephen Glass, very wormy, Weasley kind of character, and he did a great job in that movie. I remember watching, going, "Dude, this guy can act. What the hell? What happened to him in Star Wars? Like, I know he has the acting chops. What happened here?" But of course, you find out later the director. I forgot the director's name who directed that film, but I'm sure the director pulled that performance out of him, and that's what George Lucas lacks. He's always like that. He's never been able to get good performances out of actors in his films. He kind of just lets them do whatever, and that kind of like an actor who's inexperienced anyway, will act like a chicken without a head, right? They don't know where to go. They don't know how to do it because the director's not directing them to where he or she needs to go. So slightly better, but not great.
I remember that being a big part of the conversation surrounding his performance in the prequels, because in the lead up to Attack of the Clones, I think Shattered Glass may have been somewhere around that time.
It was in between.
Around that year after or something. I never saw the movie, but I do remember a lot of talk online about what is going on here. This guy's clearly a solid actor.
Yeah.
He's been in some good films and he's delivered good performances. How could his performance be this bad? And watching the behind the scenes features, featurettes on the Blu-rays. I mean, Lucas talks about how, it's all about, he doesn't direct the film on the set. He directs the film in the editing room. And if you say that to an actor, the actor's going to be like, oh, well, then who gives a shit? Then, like,
right. Yeah, exactly.
I'm just a prop, and
yeah.
And so all of the actors do look a little bit like they're kind of confused. They don't really know what movie they're in. They don't even know if they're going to be in the same shot as the actor that they're doing the performance with. They might just get put in a different place, and so, I mean, if we're talking performances, I do think that the two best performances in this movie are Ewan McGregor and, I mean, the MVP is Ian McDiarmid, right, guys?
Yeah.
Just
down.
having a fucking
hands
ball
down.
finally,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was really impressed. With his performance. I was like, man, this guy, I don't know why this guy didn't get any more parts after this movie, because he nailed it for sure.
I think he's mostly a stage actor. I'm not too familiar, but I think that's one of the reasons why he doesn't really play in a lot of stuff, is this is kind of, I don't know. And I mean, I'm sure this made him a fortune. So, he can just do whatever he wants.
Yeah,
but...
Unlimited power.
Yeah. Unlimited power.
It's actually really hard to understand what he's saying when he screams that. It took me a long time to realize he was actually saying something and not just like grunting while shooting. Okay, so we, after that opening shot, we go to save Palpatine. We see the demise of Count Dooku, and he dies in a pretty awesome way. Once again, Obi-Wan is useless, gets knocked out of commission very quickly, which is really disappointing because I love me some Obi-Wan. The interaction with Palpatine is interesting, right? He's sort of rooting for them. He's got some interesting, weird reaction shots. Even Count Dooku's like, hey, what side are you on? It's very confusing for all involved. And yeah, it comes that moment where Palpatine says, all right, kill him. And one of the best like lightsaber deaths I've ever seen. He scissors his head off with two
Yeah.
lightsabers.
Yeah, that was cool.
It's so cool.
Yeah, that was cool. I was like,
After
yeah.
cutting his arms off, right?
Yeah, that was cool.
So great.
I that was a great, moment, but once again, it felt a little flat for me. I'm gonna. By the way, I'm just gonna give you guys a heads up. I'm gonna have a lot of these falling flat moments in the movie.
Okay, you came ready to nitpick. All right.
Yeah, nitpicking pretty much, and it's mainly because I didn't really believe that Anakin was struggling with his morality in that scene. It'd be one thing if maybe perhaps Dooku was egging him on. Maybe he said, "Oh, you're just a kid," or maybe he could have. I don't know. He could have just done something a little extra to get him mad about, like, maybe insult his Jedi skills, maybe the fact that he's a kid or whatever. I don't know, just something to like, get him like mad, and then also at the same time, perhaps when he saw that Palpatine was kind of like, oh crap, this guy doesn't need me anymore. Maybe he was about to reveal that Palpatine was the Sith Lord, right? And then that's when
right
Anakin maybe just slices his head off. Something like to give the audience something to chew on for the first act. Like the setups, the dramatic setup points were established beautifully, but the acting didn't follow through. Because remember, the acting is what keeps us engaged in the story. If the actors don't follow through, then it takes out of the movie the dramatic, what do you call it? The dramatic,
the dramaness of it.
Gosh, tension, dramatic tension. The dramatic. What'd you say?
The dramaness.
The dramaness of it all. No, the dramatic tension. The tension that audiences, are like, that's what gets us in the edge of our seat, is when the setup and the actors are like, go taking us on the ride along with them. But I didn't get that from this scene.
I could see that, and honestly, I think was my takeaway when I saw this film in theaters. This was, I think, the only Star Wars movie that I only saw once when it came out, and I just went to go see it, and I just wanted to be done with it. And I do remember the reviews were really solid. Everyone was saying this is a return to form. I guess people's expectations were really low at that point. And my expectations were just like, I don't care about this franchise anymore. So I went in and yeah, I remember having those moments where I was like, okay, I understand that he's telling a story more competently here, but it still has all the bugs of the first two prequels. But I think a lot of that had to do with what, the expectations I had going into this prequel trilogy. And now, I don't know, kind of approaching this film on its own terms and embracing the performances is just being, I don't know, they're bad objectively, but for Star Wars, they're pretty solid. I don't know. Star Wars isn't really known for great performances. So I don't tend to dwell on the performances unless we're talking about like the scene where, Anakin tells Padme, "Oh, you're so beautiful," and she's like, "Well, love." So love has blinded you. It's rough.
It's interesting because they have like the same terrible chemistry that they had in Attack of the Clones, and I feel like seeing that in a second film, so just like directly brought back, it's like, oh, that's just what their relationship is like. Like, they're just like two awkward people.
Yeah. Okay. So that's another thing. It's clearly not good. It's definitely better than Attack of the Clones, though. Like, again, I think there was nowhere to go but up. And I think that even their most awkward moments together, I don't know, maybe it's because there's more urgency to the storytelling. Lucas didn't just put them on Naboo and sit them in front of a fire and have them talk for an hour about whether they should act on their feelings or not. Like, I do think that we're getting better storytelling here. So maybe that's why I'm ignoring the performances.
There's a lot of like story catharsis happening in this film that I think can kind of help you overlook the flaws of the film. Like, because for better or worse, they come in this episode. They are a strength of this episode, even if they were set up in previous films.
Yeah, it's I guess, yeah, maybe that's the thing with Revenge of the Sith. It's payoff. It's all payoff. It's paying off not only, what was hinted at from, what we learned from the original trilogy. It's paying off to relatively disappointing films. And, I don't think that those movies necessarily covered quite enough ground for this movie to completely stick the landing, but it's still, I don't know. I still think it's kind of a great film. I do think there's a moment where this movie it goes from being a really good film to being a near transcendent experience. And I don't want to just like completely overrate or destroy my credibility here, but I do have a theory here that there is a moment, and we'll get there. But before we do, I also want to bring up, in the first act, we're introduced to one of the bad guys in this film, General Grievous, who is a bit of a cartoon character, but I really love this guy. I also kind of love how he foreshadows Vader. I love that he's just like, kind of an organism, but mostly machine. He has difficulty breathing, kind of like Vader. I like the storytelling here. I like that kind of foreshadowing. It's very fantasy. What do you guys think of that character?
Great design, great look. I just wish he was utilized a little better in this film. He came off as almost Weasley, like a weasel, and I wanted to see a fearless Jedi killer. That's what I wanted to see. Someone who was not afraid to face the Jedi and go like, I can fucking kill you because I got 4 arms that could spin the lightsabers, and you can't catch me. But I didn't get that. But what we did get was good enough, I guess, for me. I still enjoyed it. I still like the character. I like the coughing thing is a good, wrinkle in this character. But I just wish he was a bit more like what we saw in the Clone Wars animated series.
Yeah, in the Tartakovsky one, because I think in the CGI Clone Wars, he's played much more like a cartoon character, like he is in this film.
Yeah, he's like, I mean, a big part of his characterization is that he's incompetent, and the Jedi are always showing him up.
Oh, I see.
And Mace Windu even says that that's all he's good for. He just, runs and hides and everything. But
which is fine, but it's better to run and hide after you've killed a few Jedi.
Well, apparently he has killed a bunch of Jedi. That's why he has the souvenir lightsabers.
No, yeah, but I wanted to see that in the movie.
Have you guys watched any of the deleted scenes?
No, I haven't.
No.
There is a scene where he executes Shaak Ti, who's the one I think he kidnaps when he's also kidnapping Palpatine in the Tartakovsky Clone Wars. So there's a scene where he executes her right in front of Anakin and Obi-Wan, and it's I don't know how it would have fit in the movie. It might have dragged the pacing a little bit, but I kind of wish it was there. The way he does it is great. He like ignites the lightsaber from her back, and it goes out her chest, and she just falls limp. And that's
all I wanted. Just something to convince me that this guy, oh crap, Obi-Wan and Anakin better be careful with this one, because this one's is a dangerous, character, that kind of deal. I'm trying to view this as a viewer at the same time, but of course, putting my writer's cap on, I got to look at if the execution was done well or not.
I try to do the same thing, but my fanboy impulses get the better of me in times like this.
One little thing about Grievous, he had the move where his top 2 lightsabers were like rotating around faster and faster. Very cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We've already had Darth Maul as an evolution on the idea of the lightsaber. Grievous is like such an insane, like further evolution of that in a great way. But I have to point out that basically he showed off his move, and then Obi-Wan goes like, "Uh-oh, how am I going to deal with this?" And then they strike lightsabers and immediately forget all about it. So it's a little disappointing.
Just a little.
I think the reason why that does annoy me, it's not something I think about too much, but it does annoy me to the extent that I think Lucas realized that he kind of had, choreography wise, he'd put himself into a little bit of a pickle, because how do you choreograph a fight where somebody's got 4 lightsabers? So he kind of had to cut it in half really quickly. So yeah, it's a little bit of lazy filmmaking, especially for a film that is like 95% animated already. So. but anyway, I still think I like the character quite a bit. Maybe he could have been less of a cartoon character, but I also just love the design of the character. Like, I love how
Yeah,
imposing
great
he
design.
is. I love his like metal
Mm-hmm.
body, his face. I love the little hints of like a creature behind the mask. It's Lucas doing what he does best, you know, showing you like a shorthand for something, showing you something that hints at a huge, you know, backstory and, you know, whole other world of possibilities.
Agreed.
So one more thing that happens during the rescue of Palpatine is that Palpatine reveals that he knows that Anakin killed and slaughtered an entire tribe of Tusken Raiders, which I find to be kind of interesting and says a lot about their relationship. I don't think Anakin was probably telling a lot of people in the Jedi Order about that, right?
No, absolutely not. Huh? I can't believe I missed that. Wow.
So apparently it was in the script, and I maybe it was filmed, I don't really know, but it was intended when the film went into production that Palpatine was going to reveal that it was Count Dooku that actually paid Tusken Raiders to torture and murder Shmi Skywalker. And for the life of me, I don't know why that's not in this movie, because it would really help to fix some like storytelling problems
Yeah, absolutely.
and help with some motivation. But yeah, there's a lot of points in this trilogy that I think that Lucas was going to explain some of those things that are really, you know, hard to follow, and then just decided at the last minute not to include it. I You know, even aside from that, I do think it's interesting that it's hinted, you know, from that scene that, you know, not only is Anakin confiding in Palpatine with a lot of information, he's also telling him like some really dark shit that he's up to, you know, and kind of foreshadows where this is going. Before we move on from the rescue mission, was there anything else you guys wanted to say about that?
Yeah, I want to talk about that crash scene. Great crash scene, but just once again, it didn't. It felt like I was watching a B movie acting with A+ special effects. That's what I felt like I was watching, because I couldn't help but compare it to the scene in the movie Pitch Black. Have you guys seen that movie Pitch Black, the original Vin Diesel movie?
Years ago.
Well, in the first 10 minutes of the film, it's about a spaceship that crash lands on a planet, and that crash landing scene was one of the best landing scenes I've seen in movies, like in movie history, like in my opinion, because the way it was shot, the way the actors portrayed it, it was like nerve wracking, and I got the same vibes from this scene when they were crashing into what planet was it? They were
It's
crashing.
Coruscant.
It was Coruscant, yeah. And I got the same vibes, but the acting was just, I don't know, it was just like they were just, you know, doing this, and like they weren't freaking out, you know. It was like, dude, you're about to die, and you're just like, oh my god, what are we gonna do now? Well, we push some buttons. So I just wanted to point out that scene was, yeah.
I've actually kind of come to terms with that. I've been doing this like mental math in my head as I've been watching the prequels and Clone Wars, especially Clone Wars, because like nobody can die in that, so they always have to like get out of jams.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of crash landings in Clone Wars, and you know, there's one here, and I think it's just like you got to be like, okay, they have like gravity stabilizers, and the spaceships are made out of like ultra high strength steel or whatever, like, you know, space steel or whatever. Space steel, yeah, that's a word. Like like if that thing was crash landing the way it looked like it was, you just think that it would just like not just crumble but like disintegrate, but instead it like maintained its rough, you know, form.
No, right, right, yeah. I just wish the acting. I just wish the acting was a little better. Is what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
So that's going to be kind of a running theme throughout the episode.
It's going to be a running
Okay,
theme for
okay. Fair
for
enough.
me. Yeah, it is.
The way that we know this was filmed, like, put so much distance between the character's performance and what's happening in the universe. Like, you know, a good counter example is like every episode of Star Trek, they always like they'll get into a phaser battle, and then the phasers blow out the computers on the bridge, and everybody just like explodes out of their chair, and it's like very hokey, but they do it every time to like kind of give
Right.
the battle sequences like some heft, which is kind of like to
Right.
address what you're
Yeah.
talking about right now.
But to compare it to Star Wars with the budget they have though, and the better actors, I think for a lot of the time, not all the time. I don't know. I just felt like when you're doing Star Wars, right? When you're in 2005, George Lucas, Star Wars is a national phenomenon. It's not new, and it just feel like, come on, man, like you could do better. You could do better than that.
I could see having that perspective, and I don't know, like I don't feel like I'm grading this movie on a curve when I watch it. I don't think I'm like, hey, it's pretty good for a Star Wars movie.
No, no,
But
no. And again, this is nitpicking. This is nitpicking. It didn't ruin the movie for me. It was just little nitpicking here. But like I said in the beginning, overall, I did enjoy the movie still.
when I used to watch these movies and like aggressively nitpick them, I was looking for the seams in the special effects, and I was looking for like, okay, where does one actor end and where does the CGI begin? And when you're focusing on that, you can definitely see an actor being composited with a CGI background interacting with something that's not really there. But I don't know, like I've just kind of given in to allowing it to sort of like wash over me and blend together. And I don't know, like John Williams' score's cooking. Visually it looks really cool. It's very vibrant. This is a very vibrant film with a lot of different colors, and it's I don't know, I find it to be effective personally.
I will say this: the special effects in episode 3 were 10 times better. It was more immersive. I didn't feel like I was watching actors in front of a blue screen anymore like it did in episode 2. It really felt like I was part of that world, and I have to give credit to the special effects team for this movie. They either stepped up their game. I have no idea what happened, but it was a lot better, seamless. It was a lot more seamless in this movie.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that they were pioneering so much technology that they didn't know whether it was going to work or not on Attack of the Clones, and in a lot of cases it really didn't work. And I think that they fixed a lot of that in the making and the process of making this film. And it shows. It definitely, in a lot of ways, Attack of the Clones feels like the sort of like the animatic mock-up version of a real movie compared to like the special effects in this one that is, I think a lot more seamless.
Can I point out just two things about the opening sequence before we go on?
Please.
One, the whole gag with R2 and the communicator that was too loud and attracting the battle droid's attention was like genuinely funny. Like that was like really good.
Yeah.
Two,
Agreed,
I liked that when Anakin finished off Dooku and was gonna, get Palpatine and Obi-Wan out of there, Palpatine was like, "Oh, leave Obi-Wan behind." Like his instincts are always like, "Fuck the Jedi, fuck those guys," at every opportunity. So I love that.
And it's like, but you're cool though. You come with me. Come on.
Yeah, I got plans for you.
Yeah.
At that point though, I can't tell if Palpatine is testing him. If he's seeing like, okay, is he willing to give up his master yet? Is he willing to embrace me and be my apprentice? Or does he still have that connection to Obi-Wan where he's not willing to let him go? It'd be very weird if Anakin was like, yeah, fuck him. Let's move on. This guy's been training me for a decade and a half, but that's fine. So when we're back in Coruscant and we're Anakin's reunited with Padme, and we have some awkward stuff going on between the two of them, she drops the bomb on him. She's pregnant. Padme's knocked up. Anakin reacts a little bit awkwardly.
He does, doesn't he? It's more like, are you not happy, bro? I thought you wanted to marry her. You love her, and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, oh man, I wasn't expecting this. And plus, I also thought it was hilarious that they secretly met in front of that big, huge entrance, the entranceway in that building. I was like, what the fuck?
She was hiding behind a pillar,
I was like, okay. But yeah, you're right. He acted like, I was kind of like, oh, does he not want the kids? Is he like, does he want to bail? I was like, oh crap. Like, I didn't want.
Well, maybe he was thinking about how is he gonna be a dad and also fight the Clone Wars,
Yeah, and he was ready for it too, ready for that battle. But yeah, I agree. It was a little awkward, but I think it's because he was worried that the secret was going to come out and that the Jedi Council was going to find out that he illegally married Amidala or Padme, I should say, and and it was going to ruin his chances of becoming the Jedi Master. That was what he was more worried about.
So, being worried about the Jedi finding out, I think is a good point to ask this question. Not to skip to the end of this film or anything, but did the Jedi kind of get what they deserve in this movie?
Yeah.
100%, right? Because this is, I think,
absolutely.
the secret sauce to this trilogy and this film. And I realized a while ago, back when I started to really catch on to what this movie was going for, and I started to really vibe to, to this film, was when I started to embrace what I actually thought used to be a flaw, which was that I never accepted that the Jedi would be this stupid. And now I realize, like, oh no, that's actually the intent. That's the authorial intent of Lucas, is to say, no, in their narrow-mindedness, they let this happen. And part of that is, their decision to be a repressive force, among the people that are part of, the Jedi Order. They're very picky about who they let in, and they're very controlling about the lives that they're allowed to live. I don't know why anybody would want to be a Jedi. It seems like it blows. I don't understand it. I don't know why anybody would want that life. They don't ever look like they're having a good time. Like, they're always, hitting each other with, bullshit wisdom, and like, pointing fingers about, following the rules and all that stuff. And yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if they had just kind of been more open-minded and let Anakin have the life, and maybe the Jedi have the life that they kind of wanted to have within reason, they wouldn't need to worry about this conflict.
Well, I think what the reason why that was a thing, because I based on my own studies and philosophy, and also not just philosophy, but also orders, like fraternal orders and whatnot, ancient fraternal orders in terms of like spirituality and spiritual teachings. You have to voluntarily want it, and no one can force it upon you. And so that's why the Jedi way, as Lucas created them, was based off that. And the reason why they don't allow everyone to join in is because not everyone is receptive to it, and not everyone is ready for that kind of, power. Because, spiritual teachings is powerful. If you use it the wrong way, it could easily devolve into occultism, right? People can create cults out of that and be able to brainwash people and make them think that they're, demigods or gods walking the earth. And so that's why it's always, from my own research in my studies, is that they were always picky about who they let into their order, because if they just let anyone in, then you would have like a bunch of Darth Vaders, running around, essentially.
So I think that may be what their intent was from the get-go. I think that's the way it started. But when they became a political tool, I think that they became an elite club. And it made me wonder, like, what's Obi-Wan's background? Does he come from like a really rich family? Did they kind of like, maneuver to get him in there? Because I mean, like, he didn't get there based on his lightsaber skills, like, at least when it comes to fighting against Count Dooku,
right.
But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that I think is more and more interesting as I revisit the prequels, as I get older. I start to realize that a lot of the stuff that I thought was incompetent filmmaking and incompetent storytelling was actually Lucas's intent. Like, no, the Jedi aren't exactly what you thought they were. They let this happen, through their own narrow-mindedness.
Yeah, he could have done a better job executing that, because it took me a while to think it over and realize, oh yeah, you know what, I get what he's trying to do here. But when that happens, that means you didn't do a good job telling the story or conveying that to the audience. And I feel like, the Jedi that we saw in the prequels have been dogmatized. So they're following just pure dogma, and we know when you are in deep in dogmatism, you're blind, you're narrow-minded. You don't want to see, you don't want to, you're not receptive to anything outside your narrow focus, and that's what essentially leads to everyone's downfall. And so it's a good, I agree. The Jedi did deserve this because they refused to think outside the box and capture and sense that a Sith Lord was under their noses this entire time and not catch them.
Yeah, and also, I just want to clarify, I'm not saying that the younglings deserve to be murdered at the hands of Darth Vader. But I'm just saying that the Jedi Order, it needed to crumble. It needed to fall. That's the balance to the Force that Anakin is bringing. And it is one of those things that I think is really interesting about this film.
I in this watch through, I've noticed that Lucas reuses a lot of elements in his films, even outside of the Star Wars films. And with that in mind, the thing that seems closest to the Jedi Order to me is the dystopian society from THX 1138,
Right.
which is interesting because
right.
they're antagonists in that film.
I don't know if I wouldn't necessarily say they're antagonistic in this movie necessarily, but I was really taken aback. I think, recently in my recent rewatches of this film, and especially now, I think over the last year or so, just kind of looking at maybe the world at the moment and seeing, kind of like how societies can fall and how they can crumble. And then looking at this movie, which, that's what this movie is doing, is highlighting a society that's in demise, and what happened and what contributed to that. And you look at the whole thing, and it's like, well, the Republic was dysfunctional, and for whatever reason, I wish it was conveyed a little bit more clear in the storytelling. And there's a point in the film where Palpatine mentions that the Jedi are a lot like the Sith. They both hunger for power, and they both fear to lose it. And if you look at the actions of like Mace Windu throughout this film, and Yoda even, they are both afraid to lose the power that they have, and they're very eager to take the power back away from Palpatine. It doesn't necessarily even sound like they're talking about it from a moral standpoint, but more of a, he has too much power, he's kind of infringing on ours. And instead of like taking a step back to realize like, oh, wait a minute, maybe the Republic is under the control of the Sith. They don't even think about that. It's really compelling.
Yeah, right at the moment that I think we start wondering, like, what do these Jedi think what Palpatine's mindset is? They start becoming suspicious of him. Because, I mean, up until now, for 2 whole movies, he's just been operating in plain sight.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's so obvious too. It's like it's like the whole Clark Kent and Superman thing. It's like literally you take off your glasses, you're Superman. It's like clearly this guy is a Sith Lord, guys. Just think about it, like or Bruce Wayne being Batman. If you think, wait, who has the resources to be Batman? It's got to be Bruce Wayne. It's the same thing with Palpatine. Who has the resources to benefit from these things that are going on right now? It's Palpatine.
Well, to be fair for those arguments, for one, Bruce Wayne acts like a doofus in public, which always gets the scent off him whenever he's in public. And then in the comics anyway, the reason why Superman is able to just wear the glasses and then just take them off and no one can tell the difference is because he had the ability to shapeshift his face.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things that they omitted when they made the movies, because obviously you can't really transfer that to the movies.
Right. Yeah. I'm just like, hey, that's Henry Cavill with glasses.
Exactly. So maybe what Zack Snyder failed to do, going off the road here for a second, he could have used CGI to kind of alter his face when he was Clark Kent.
That would have been really interesting. Yeah.
What Richard Donner did in the original movie, which I thought was genius, was that he had Christopher Reeve act like a bumbling idiot when he was Clark Kent, and then act very confident and upright when he was Superman. So I think that was a perfect way to, okay, we can't do the whole facial thing, but we can do him being the cowering, kind of like wimpy kind of guy. And then when he takes off his glasses, he's like this major superhero. So I think that worked. That worked really well.
Well, okay, so the whole secret identity, the, Palpatine's secret identity, alter ego being Sidious and vice versa, they're one and the same person. He is doing that. He's definitely playing a role.
Yeah.
And, when he's when he has to play the role of Chancellor and when he has to play the role of Sidious. And one of my favorite moments in this movie is actually when he's confronted by Mace Windu and he says, I am the Senate. And like his full Sidious comes out to play, and he's dishing it out until he finally gets electrocuted, and then he's like all in. Yeah. I'm like Sidious now. I've completely taken over. And it's, I don't know, I really love that, the kind of dual performance that Ian McDiarmid is doing, and I love that aspect to the character of like he's very calm, very collected, very manipulative when he's around the Jedi, when he's around Anakin and other various diplomats. You only start to really see it come through in one of my favorite scenes in the prequels, when Anakin and Palpatine go to the water ballet. I don't know what you want to call it.
Yeah.
It is apparently a Mon Calamari squid opera.
Ah.
I had a feeling it was. I could tell by... no, I'm just kidding.
Also, you can spot George Lucas's cameo in the film right before they walk in. He's a blue guy, and his daughter's there with him.
Wow, I did not know that. That's pretty cool.
I've never been able to spot it. I've heard it, and then I guess I forget, when I watch it. But
It's right when Anakin's walking into the box.
oh, okay.
You see him on
Wow,
you see
I'll
him
have
on the
to check
left.
that out next time.
So a lot is established in this scene. I guess we kind of glossed over that in addition to Padme being pregnant, Anakin is now having visions of Padme dying. And
Right.
now not only is he dealing with the stress of keeping his marriage a secret, he's also dealing with the fact that he doesn't want her to die. And his mom died in the nightmares and all of that. So yeah, he doesn't want the same thing to happen again. And Palpatine seems to already know this. He can already sense that Anakin is being driven by this desire to save somebody from dying, and it's weird that he would know that, right?
Well, they kind of established that they have a very close relationship, right? And I know that Obi-Wan mentions that to Anakin, and I think after the I forgot what scene it was in the film, but when he tells him you've been really close to Palpatine, it's getting some of us a little worried. So I think they already established the fact that they have a very intimate relationship already.
Yeah,
almost like a surrogate father and son type of relationship.
They do. And it creates a weird sort of like Jedi love triangle between, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Palpatine for sure. And I mean, it makes me wonder, has Anakin confided in Palpatine that he's married Padme? I mean, they're both from the same planet. So, you have to wonder.
Right.
But it seems that Palpatine is already kind of like already gathers that, Anakin is troubled that, he's having these visions of Padme dying. And it's one of those things where I wish it was more clear in the movie that, what manipulation techniques Palpatine is really actually using on Anakin, because he's been laying this trap for an entire trilogy for Anakin. And it seems like he'd have to let a lot of things fall to chance in order for the pieces to really fall into place. I don't think he's really letting it all fall to chance. I think he's actually a lot more engaged in it than he lets on.
I think it's a little bit of what was established in the original trilogy, which is, remember when during Luke Skywalker's training, he sees visions of like the future.
Yeah.
And then we kind of talked about in the Return of the Jedi episode about how Luke planned Han Solo's release from his enslavement with Jabba the Hutt. And how we kind of figured out that perhaps he would use the Force, but he had to like make sure that pieces were put in place before for it to work. So maybe Palpatine did the same thing. He was using the dark side of the Force, perhaps.
I could definitely see that.
Or maybe because I always wonder how he got away with the Jedi not sensing his dark side power.
Yeah.
Like I can't help but think like maybe this guy was a Jedi at one point, and then he turned to the dark side, but then he kept some of that Jedi stuff with him to hide that dark side Force power. Maybe.
Well, even though it is actually not established in Revenge of the Sith, it is canon that Darth Plagueis is Palpatine's master. So,
right.
Which is interesting that he asks him if he's ever heard of the legend of Darth Plagueis. Like, why would people hear about that's like, hey, have you heard about the legend of the Jedi legend of Qui-Gon Jinn? Like, wait, that guy that died 10 years ago?
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I love the implications of this scene, of what the way that Palpatine is laying the seductive trap of, I can give you something the Jedi can't give you. And he drops the first hint of like, well, I know of a thing and I've heard a story. And then he's going to dish out a little bit more when he's like, yeah, I'm actually the Sith Lord you guys have been looking for. I dare you to turn me in, bro.
Right.
So Anakin gets put on the Jedi Council at the direction of Palpatine, and the Jedi aren't very happy about it. So they refuse to let him be a master. And then they basically tell him that they want him to spy on Palpatine. So they're kind of putting Anakin, who, you know, is the chosen one and who started training late in the game. And again, I feel like this is another instance where the Jedi are kind of getting what they deserve. Like, why are they doing this to, you know, one of their students? Why are they having one of their students commit treason and spy on the Chancellor? It's very interesting stuff. And the way they treat him when he mentions, you know, wait, I'm going to sit on the council, but I don't get the rank of master. And I don't know, they seem to like, they treat him in a really condescending way. Like, get a load of this guy, you know, obviously being the, you know, petulant little kid that he is. But it's like, no, you guys know that about him. So why are you kind of like setting that up, you know?
He doesn't deserve to be master. You don't get called master just because an authority figure tells you you're a master. You become master because of your own self. I guess not. Yeah, I guess self-worth. Like, you have to prove yourself and to others that you are. I would imagine as in the Jedi code, right? Valorous, you know, wise, you know, someone who can use the you know, the lightsaber with deadly force, but uses it sparingly, so that way it's not, you know, you don't get drunk with power and whatnot. So I would imagine them going, okay, yeah, we'll let you in the council. It's not a problem, but you ain't no master. Like, no way. There's no way you're a master yet.
It's kind of like when you're I don't know, your parents are fighting, or they're, you know, they're going to go through a divorce, and so they kind of like put you in the middle of their conflict. So they're like, oh well, you know, dad says you get to be on the council, well, you don't get to be master. You know, it's very much a thing. Like, now you're going to run off and go tell, you know, Palpatine about that, and then Palpatine's going to be like, wow, they're really not treating you very seriously. They're not taking you serious, and they don't realize your power.
Well,
and
it was also part of Palpatine's master plan, grand master plan.
Right.
Actually, he wanted that to happen. He wanted the Jedi to write him off, so that way he could come crying to him and cry on his shoulder and be like, "Don't worry, buddy. Like, I got you. You wait and see. You wait and see what I got in store for you."
It seems to me that both sides are kind of using Anakin as like a useful idiot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I would say so.
When I look at Anakin at the end of this film, and I don't know, the end of Anakin's arc in this entire trilogy, he does kind of feel like a victim. And, you know, yeah, he made a lot of bad choices, and I'm not saying that anything he did, you know, in the final act of this movie was any good, but I feel like he's kind of a victim of circumstance. You know, he's a victim of people manipulating the chosen one to try to use the chosen one to, you know, further their own agenda. And it backfires basically on everyone. Ultimately, it even backfires on Palpatine.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Palpatine's evil, is that he is like injected into this situation that has galaxy-wide consequences, and all of the processes, safeguards of this society get twisted and perverted, and they don't do what they were supposed to do. And it's like all the pieces are there, but there's this thread of ill intent that goes through the entire plot. I mean, I would say the saving grace of the prequels is that it may not have been told in the best way, but there is actually like a really good, timeless, and universal story about the nature of good and evil here.
Yeah, I agree. I'll agree with that for sure.
I think approaching the prequel trilogy as a bit of misdirection, of saying that, I think I mentioned this when we were talking about the Phantom Menace, that if you look at every victory that our heroes have as ultimately being a loss when you look at it from Palpatine's perspective, because every time they gain something or win something, it's actually Palpatine is the one that's actually gaining something. He's the one that's, playing the long game. They may have won the battle, but they're going to lose the war. And it's something that, again, I don't know if it's very clearly communicated the first time you watch the trilogy, but every time I watch these movies now, I'm always watching it from Palpatine's perspective. I'm always watching it from, oh, this guy is just succeeding at every turn. My guy, he's just like outsmarting all these fools, and it's kind of beautiful to watch, especially in this movie.
Yeah, you were saying about, isn't that leaving a lot of things to chance? But according to canon, Palpatine had his hands in virtually every bad thing that led to the downfall of the Republic, which would encompass like just dozens of different aspects and factions and chess pieces. So like I think if you're a player on that level, if you're like operating like that, the whole thing is that you have a lot of different instruments of power, And when one thing doesn't go according to your plan, you use the other 19 things that you have to kind of arrange things where you need them to go. You're evil, so you can cheat.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
He's got a backup plan for his backup plans for his backup plans.
He's got a literal whole planet full of clones of himself in case he dies.
All right, I don't know if that's canon, but oh wait, no, that is canon now. Okay, all right.
Disney.
So, I was saying earlier that there's a point in this movie, I think, where this movie becomes truly transcendent, and we're getting close to that moment. But the build up to get there, there's a couple of scenes that I think really lay it in. And the first scene for me, especially once you know where this is going, is the last scene between Obi-Wan and Anakin, when Obi-Wan is going off to face Grievous, which is maybe the first scene between the two of them where I buy their relationship and I'm starting to embrace the like overarching tragedy of what's about to take place. And I think it's communicated well in that scene. And it's the moment where this movie, I think, starts to become truly sad and truly tragic. And I know, Julius, this is a tough sell for you. I know that you said that this movie doesn't entirely land for you. But when I watch this movie, this is where the movie, like, I think starts to become heartbreaking to watch. And I don't know, Joseph, do you have any thoughts about, as this thing is starting to slide into tragedy, like, do you kind of see where that's happening with Anakin and Obi-Wan? Or
Absolutely. I mean, that was the moment that I realized that there was something different since the last time I watched this movie a couple months ago before getting into Clone Wars, because that scene where Obi-Wan and Anakin are basically having their last bit of normalcy together is just that kind of scene has been repeated 5 dozen times in the Clone Wars, where it's him, Obi-Wan, Ahsoka. They've just completed their latest mission, set things right, maybe furthered the war, and they're regrouping and all is right, except not after this. And I thought that was really that moment of pathos really worked.
Yeah. It's where I think this movie is starting to lock into place. And I think the part where the movie really locks into place is when Anakin confronts Palpatine. Palpatine reveals who he is. And Anakin at first makes the right decision to go to Mace Windu. And Mace Windu, like an idiot, tells Anakin, no, you know what? You're going to sit this one out. And guess what? If we succeed, we'll trust you this time. Which is, again, if you've ever had a parent that wants to manipulate you, that's just some really shitty stuff, okay, I'm going to go confront mom about this. And if you're right about this, you'll have my trust. Oh man, just, not cool what they're doing to Anakin.
Yeah.
And Anakin goes to hang out in the Jedi Council, the empty Jedi Council chambers. And there's this 2-minute moment of silence where he's just sitting there, and it's the sunset on Coruscant, and he's just contemplating his next move. It's one of the quietest moments in any Star Wars movie. And I do think it's the moment where this movie actually picks up and becomes a transcendent experience. It from the moment the music is kind of changing, the tone is shifting, and right as Anakin's about to jump in his shuttle to actually go save Palpatine. Did this moment stand out to you guys? Because it really stands out to me when I watch this.
It was the best part of the movie for me. It really was. And I can't agree with you totally on that Obi-Wan Anakin scene. Even though the scene was good, it didn't really hit for me. But this scene, the silent scene when Padme is also out on the balcony, and it kind of looks like they're facing each other, or they're making eye contact. And then, of course, he tears up in the end, and he bounces to go and steal his fate. That to me was this is top-notch writing right here. Didn't have to say a word. It was just facial expressions. It was just, like you said, quiet, cutting back and forth. And it was, for me, it was wow, it was powerful. It was a very powerful scene. I even wrote in my notes here. Let's see what I wrote here. The scene between Padme and Anakin, the silence, powerful in big capital words, powerful and well executed. It really was. For me, I was wow, I wish there were more moments like this in the movie. Where I want, because cinema is supposed to make you feel, right? Yeah, of course, there's got to be spectacle. It's got to be, the stuff that gets us excited about films. But if you don't have that emotional connection, your movie is not going to hit as good as like the original trilogy, for instance, did. And this scene, yeah, you're right. It was absolutely, it changed the course of the movie for me. It got me actually excited for what was coming next. And yeah, 100%, I agree. It was great. It was a great little small scene.
If you're actually looking at the timeline on the film, it's exactly at the middle point in the movie. It's like, if I think this movie is like 2 hours and 20 minutes, I think it's at the 1 hour and 10 minute mark.
Yeah.
It's like a very clear choice to have this happen at the exact halfway point. Joseph, what did you think about this moment?
It's a very interesting use of Coruscant as a location. Instead of just being a like a wallpaper painted in the background, we really have a sense of space and like a utility to the way that this city is laid out.
But what about the emotions of the characters? Like, I dig the architecture in that scene. It's great.
You know, that's a good point by Julius, that you know, so often in these films we're just kind of told what's happening and left to maybe the expanded universe material to flesh things out. And this moment, like, is an effective use of cinema to actually make you feel things.
I agree. I think that this is a turning point for the movie. It's a turning point for the trilogy. It's really what we've all been waiting for. You know, we didn't really want to see 2 movies of Anakin being a small boy and Anakin falling in love. We wanted, like, to see Anakin turn to the dark side, you know? We wanted to see what that was all about. And I mean, you know, aside from the fact that I kind of wish that this moment came a lot earlier in Revenge of the Sith, like maybe right at the point where he rescues Palpatine, when it finally comes, I think it's very satisfying. I don't think it's too little too late. I think it's actually really well executed. And everything that happens from this point on, to me, is like some of the best Star Wars we've ever gotten. Like, I think the back half of this movie is just kind of a triumph. It's really Lucas, like, coming back and showing us how this is done. And I wish the entire movie was this consistent. I wish the entire prequel trilogy was this consistent. But yeah, it's really at this moment. It's you know, obviously also, you know, Obi-Wan jumping down and doing his little hello there to General Grievous, which has been, you know, gift to infinity, and I love it so much. Which, you know, hey, you know, that's happening simultaneously with all this stuff on Coruscant. That's a great fight sequence, I think. I really dig all of that stuff between Obi-Wan and Grievous on Utapau.
I liked how Grievous, like, got on all fours and crawled like a cockroach.
Yeah, that was cool. See, I want to see more of that. I want to see more of that Grievous, and I wish they would have utilized him a lot more like that.
My favorite thing with Grievous is when Obi-Wan, like, opens up his chest and, like, Grievous gives him this look like he just got, like, assaulted, and he's just like, "What are you doing? What are you looking down my shirt?" And he, like, smacks him. It's pretty great. You got to feel bad for Obi-Wan if, like, the Republic hadn't fallen, you know, while he was on his way back from, like, completing his mission. He would have got like a great medal, I'm sure, like a promotion, you know, he would have maybe been able to run for chancellor. Like, you know, this guy was, like, on his way up, and then he finds out that, oh shit, like, things really got bad while I was gone.
What happened?
So again, you know, Mace Windu decides to go confront Palpatine, and, you know, to me, this is sort of like the last final nail in the coffin for Jedi incompetence. Like, I can't believe that instead of trying to gather some proof and take it to the Senate, or get, I don't know, all 10,000 Jedi involved in this, Mace Windu's like, no, 4 of us can handle this. He's an old dude. We're good. And they go to confront Palpatine, who, like, kills 3 Jedi in, like, 1 lightsaber stroke.
Yeah, gosh, what a disappointment! What a disappointment! Seriously. And you know, and to be fair, maybe the reason why he didn't get more Jedi is because they were spread out in the fighting the Clone Wars.
I mean, true. And then I guess, I don't know, Palpatine could have executed Order 66 once he saw, like, you know, 500 Jedi marching to his quarters.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, what a disappointing fight scene. I was expecting a lot more than that. And I was like, really, dude? Like, you couldn't have given us a badass, like, I feel it would have been a lot more effective if they showcased how badass Palpatine really was by him dueling three Master Jedi's and then being able to kill two after a cool little fight, a lightsaber duel between three of them at the same time. It would have been great. I would have loved that a lot more than a quick, swiftly, two, 1-2 punch, kill of these Master Jedi's, and then finally fighting Mace Windu by himself, which was, I'll admit, it was a good lightsaber duel between Mace Windu and Palpatine. I did enjoy that.
I do think that lightsaber battle reminded me quite a bit of the Attack of the Clones fight with Dooku, just in the fact that you're like obviously watching somebody who has like a CGI double, Yeah. But I'm glad it's not the only lightsaber fight that we got. We get tons of amazing lightsaber fights in this movie. And so like, yeah, it's a little disappointing, but it is what it is.
I didn't have that reaction at all. Like I'm perfectly aware that it was a CGI double, but Palpatine was fierce. He was quick. He was powerful. And I mean, like he had higher lightsaber skills than I would have expected from his character. Considering like if you're in the dark side, like your strength is not coming from like athleticism or like valor. It's coming from like your manipulation and your dishonesty and your just your sheer cruelty, But so he at least in the lightsaber department, he's got skills.
And Palpatine is really good at turning lemons into lemonade. Dude gets scarred like just something awful by Mace Windu. And he just adopts it as like a new persona. He's like, you know what? This has always kind of been me on the inside. I'm just going to wear that on the outside now, It almost makes me wonder if this was also like a backup plan. He was like, okay, so if I shoot electrical bolts and it like comes back on me, well, I can turn that into a win by then going to the Senate and saying, look what the Jedi did to me.
Yeah.
I would have preferred if his face was burned than an actual like calloused, quickly calloused face to happen after he was, the bounce back he got from his electricity, his dark side electricity power. I wish it would have been like his skin would have been sizzling and like all crazy looking. That would have been dope. But hey, whatever.
Oh, I don't think the physics completely add up with that, but I mean it's a cool visual, I like it.
It was. No, I'm not taking that away from that. I'm just saying I wish the electricity would have burnt, like still swole his face like the way it did, but it just burnt. Just I wish it was more freshly burnt, and then eventually it healed to what we see in Return of the Jedi.
When Anakin cuts off Mace Windu's arm and Palpatine lightning bolts Mace Windu out the window, Anakin, like his sudden like realization, the what have I done moment, and Palpatine saying you're fulfilling your destiny, and the two of them basically coming to terms with the fact that they have reached the point of no return. They have to act now. They have to be decisive. They have to kill all of them. They can't let anybody survive. Like, I really think that this is some like really complex and like really tragic filmmaking. I don't know, like it really lands for me in that scene. And then, when he when he gives him the title of Darth Vader, when he gives him orders, the whole thing just, I don't know, it feels like the weight of two people who have like committed an ultimate sin, who now have to live with the sin they've committed and have to continue to like commit that sin for like the rest of their lives. They've reached that point of no return. It's totally sold for me in that scene.
Yeah, it reminded me of Breaking Canon. Listeners might not know about this, but we did an episode on talking cinema recently on Shutter Island, and it reminded me of the scene where Teddy ends up murdering his wife, and it's kind of like it's just such a traumatic moment that like you're not thinking straight and you go along with it, and it's already past a point of no return, and Anakin or Vader seems to understand this, and he's just like straight up like, I pledge my loyalty to your teachings, and he's just like, I give in, just completely.
Yeah, and at that moment he's saying, I'm doing this because I want you to teach me how to save my wife.
Yeah,
until
right.
she kind of
Exactly.
becomes an afterthought. You get so consumed by evil that whatever your reason for going down that path, you forget it. You're just, now evil is your game. You don't actually care about the thing that you held dear to your heart, that got you to the point that you got. I don't know, it's something that I really respond to in this film, and the nature of the dark side, that it works kind of like an addiction or something. Like, he becomes so lost in that he's gone completely. It makes you understand why maybe the Jedi are so freaked out by the dark side. They're like, no, 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 no. You do one dark side thing, bro. You're forever gone. That's it.
So it's a slippery slope for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, and then we execute Order 66, and a bunch of our Jedi friends get murdered, including the younglings. And that scene where Anakin ignites his lightsaber is the darkest thing in Star Wars. I mean, my God, the way that kid jumps when the lightsaber goes on, it's so sad. And
Why are you laughing if it's so sad?
because I've seen it gift, like
Oh, I
it's
see. I
it's
see.
definitely taken out of context can be a little bit funny, but
Right, right.
um,
I wish. Well, I understand why Lucas held back, but I wish I would have seen a little bit more, not more violence towards the kids, obviously not, but I'm talking more like putting up more of a fight, I guess. I just didn't like the fact that Order 66 was executed, and then all the clones turned on the Jedi who were leading them into battle, and then they just immediately get killed easily. I wish I would have seen more of. Do you remember that scene where Organa shows up
yeah,
and they're about to kill him, and then that youngling Jedi, that teenage Jedi, jumps
yeah.
in and starts killing his mate. I want to see more of that. That's what I wanted to see more of. I wanted to see more of them fighting, and then maybe maybe he's gonna make it, and then the numbers game kick in. There's just too many clones. There's just way too many clones for them to be able to defeat them, and that's what I wanted to see more of during the Order 66 scene, because that at least would have shown me that the Jedi are badasses, but it will show the viewers as well that no matter how badass you are as a Jedi Master, if you're overwhelmed by the numbers, you're done. You're done for. It's over.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to see more of in that scene. But it was still executed well. Don't get me wrong. I still thought it was great filmmaking in the that Lucas did. But I wish there would have been a bit more of a fight from the Jedi before they got killed.
Yeah, but especially because like in other media where whenever there's like a situation where something really bad happened in the past, now there's a new status quo that sucks. And before there
Mm-hmm.
was an old
Right.
status quo that was good, but then there was this bad thing that happened. The moment between like the beginning of the bad thing and when it's finally clear that the new shitty dystopian status quo has come into effect, that in between space is so interesting. I unfortunately can't really think of a good example right now. Maybe like Walking Dead, like like kind of the moment where like the walkers are happening like in the pilot.
Yeah. Like you mean like if we stretched out that montage of like Mundi and like
Yeah,
the
where
other
like clearly they're
Yes.
going
Jedi.
down, but like they're still fighting, but it's like probably doomed.
Yeah,
Like that's actually like a really dramatic moment in storytelling.
for sure. It would have been, I think, a lot more memorable if Lucas would have just provided gave a bit more time to each of these Jedi that he introduced in the prequels, by the way, in the first
Right,
episode
right.
1 and 2, and being able to see them like actually exercise their Jedi powers just for a while, just like, oh, and get the audience like, oh, maybe he's gonna pull through, maybe, and oh crap, like damn, and then be constantly disappointed more and more as he showed more tragic as he showcases more and more Jedi fall because of the sheer amount of clones overwhelming them.
I think it's one of those things that I've accepted, because I do remember kind of feeling that way the first time I saw this movie, where I was like, wow, we got like a 30-second montage of Jedi dying and that's it. Like, wow, they do suck. Oh my God. But
Right.
I do think that it's maybe the film faltering a little bit under the weight of the fact that not enough was established in the Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones for this film to really stretch its legs. And I think that maybe if we had gotten the Clone Wars in Attack of the Clones, we could have focused more on Order 66 being like a major set piece of this film instead of like a 2-minute montage. But I don't know. John Williams' music is really effective in the scene, and it's a sad montage. See all of our.
No, I'm not. I'm not taking that away from that scene. Like I said, it's a great scene. It's still very tragic. I just wanted a little bit more than that.
And the scene of Padme looking out at the burning Jedi temple. It's just like that moment where like, oh wow, yeah, these guys are all like located on Coruscant. They're all near each other. She's seeing the destruction. She doesn't know that Anakin's turned to the dark side. It's just a harrowing like montage and sequence, and when Obi-Wan confronts Padme, and acknowledges that Anakin's the father and kind of tells her he's turned to the dark side. It's
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer to watch.
Yeah,
that's where I think this movie, like it just becomes like a slow motion bummer until the very the end credits basically.
Considering this was 2005, kind of reminds me of 9/11.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you're right.
It's another example of Coruscant in this film being like an actual like location as opposed to just a backdrop.
No, I definitely think that, from what I've heard and what Lucas has said in interviews, that he was definitely inspired by, the politics of the moment when he was making this movie. And it shows through in this movie far more than in Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. And I remember at the time thinking it was kind of cheesy and not well done. And now I actually think it works pretty well. I don't think it dates the movie. I think it still feels like it works.
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of my criticisms that I had when I originally saw it were just me not knowing how storytelling worked.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, if you look at any public appearances by Lucas, like it's clear he cares a lot about politics, and he very much relished his role as somebody who has a megaphone in our society to criticize the George W. Bush administration, and the politics of the time.
Yeah, it's true. And I think it was one of those things where, if I recognized it in a movie at the time, I was like, but now, a decade and a half removed, it just seems like, oh, okay, cool. He put in a little bit of, current event flavor into his story, and it doesn't overshadow it.
Which is what's supposed to be. That's all artists and writers do. They reflect what's going on in their society. That's what good storytelling should be.
Yeah, and you don't have to wait a long time. Like that's how it works. Yeah.
Well, I don't. Yeah, that whole notion of like, oh man, that's too soon. It's like, no, dude, no. Let's put it out there in the forefront. Let's look at it. Let's observe it, and let's find out how we can learn from it. That's the best thing to do.
It made the film, it made the filmmaker, it made the franchise a little bit of an easy target. Especially when a Star Wars movie comes out, it's like the most scrutinized thing in culture. Even today, when a Star Wars movie comes out, everyone has an opinion, and I just remember that being part of the conversation when it came out. So yeah, like Yoda and Obi-Wan are become aware that Anakin has turned to the dark side, and Yoda sends Obi-Wan to Mustafar, like all the way to the Outer Rim, to go kill his Padawan so that Yoda can go confront Palpatine and fucking lose. Again, Yoda not looking great in this trilogy to me.
Yeah, he knew he was done. He knew he was done. Like, there's no way he could salvage what happened. Palpatine was just way too powerful. I think at that point Yoda was tired. Maybe he was just like, I'm just tired of fighting, man. I'm tired of all this damn crap. And now you have this guy who's just 100% like just in a roided out freaking Sith Lord, ready and like, I'm fucking tired of hiding behind the damn shadows. Now I'm going to be in the forefront.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to sick the government on you, and there's no cover for you anymore.
And he sure does.
Yeah, he had to leave. He had to bounce. He couldn't stick around.
So, James, do you think that Yoda's appearances in the prequels are an effective, like, backwards characterization of his character in the original trilogy? I mean, like, do you think it set up the beginning of like an actual character arc there?
Yeah, in fact, I think it was set up early on as part of his character to have him speak backwards.
Yeah.
Once you reverse engineer his character, you realize, oh wait, maybe he was kind of shitty.
You know, if you just reverse everything he says, it's like not that crazy. It's not a bunch of wisdom.
Yeah.
Pretty ordinary stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So when we get to Mustafar and we have that confrontation between Anakin and Padme, and Anakin is so far gone, and he starts to force choke her. Obi-Wan comes out. He's just showing all of his worst traits. He's so blinded. I this is where I think his performance is at its best. And again, I don't want to say it's great. It's not Oscar worthy, but he does sell this whole, like, this idea that he's on the right side of history. He figured it out. All he had to do was turn to the dark side and the galaxy's his, He doesn't even think he's doing anything wrong at this point. And then we get to that lightsaber battle, and this is my favorite lightsaber battle in any Star Wars movie. I think it is just exhilarating. I know that people have complained because it's overly choreographed, it's balletic, whatever. I love this lightsaber battle. I remember hearing, Lucas talk about how Darth Vader lost his limbs, how he became Darth Vader, and it was because of a fight with Obi-Wan on a volcanic planet. And even when I first saw this movie, I was like, well, shit, I have to at least recognize that he pulled this one off.
I didn't think so. I thought the lightsaber duel was probably one of the overhyped, over choreographed. I'm in that school of thought.
Okay.
I still say the best lightsaber duel is the Darth Maul and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. That's number one on my list. And number two, obviously, is Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader in Empire. But I felt like, see, the reason why those, like, for instance, like going back to the Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader lightsaber duel from Empire, the reason why that fight worked so well is because it was integrated in the story. It was part of Skywalker's journey into him becoming a Jedi. And so I feel like this one could have done the same thing, but it could have been Anakin's journey to the dark side. And I felt like it felt short for me. When it came to this lightsaber duel, I was hyped for it. Don't get me wrong. I was like, all right, this I like the setup. I like that they took it here, and it flowed nicely to that scene. But then, I think I wrote in my notes here that the lightsaber duel dragged on and on and on. It just wouldn't end, and it's just like, dude, I get it. You're trying to be epic here, but you're not being epic. There was no. It was more flash. It was more sizzled in the steak.
Okay.
That's the best analogy I could think of. That's what I got from it when I watched it. Too much sizzle, not enough steak in terms of like the story and the character journey that which was Anakin Skywalker's journey to the dark side and Obi-Wan's journey to him realizing the Jedi way was broken. They fucked up. They could have done things differently and they didn't, and now they're paying for it.
What did you think, Joseph, of the lightsaber duel, and also cross-cutting it between that epic Senate fight between Yoda and Palpatine, just hurling pods at each other? That was so cool. Yeah, so cool.
I love that.
Yeah, and that's such a cool location, and that was like such a great use of that location after Palpatine use that space to attain power, and then he finally just ends up chomping the scenery and just showing his ultimate disrespect for the Senate by using it as a weapon. Okay, so I was kind of curious, James, like, when was the first time you ever heard about this lightsaber duel in episode 3? Because I mean, the anticipation was huge. I remember this from way back.
Yeah, I think I'd heard about it. I think before The Phantom Menace was released. I think that I'd read some interview or some clip where Lucas just, it all happens on a lava planet where Obi-Wan confronts Anakin, who's now Darth Vader, and just kind of just gives it away. And he stuck to his plan the whole time. And yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I absolutely think that this sequence lives up to that hype and anticipation. I definitely understand the sort of like over choreographed thing, but to me, this is opera. This is big, emotional, high stakes, action conflict that's going on here. And it's not just about like whether they're going to land lightsaber blows on each other. It's about, two people that used to love each other that are now like ideologically opposed. And it's like that scene where they're trying to like force push each other's hands and then they are pushed back. It's like, there's no way to mend this. One of them, not both of them can't walk away from this basically. And And I don't know. I think that even though, yes, it goes on a long time and it's very long, very choreographed, it's effective to me.
I would say maybe like the criticism I could give is that the Mustafar setting is so monochromatic, and it's obviously CGI'd, so it's like easy to just mentally discount it. It kind of like fades into the background, but that again is possibly by design because it's supposed to be a character moment. So like these two characters are supposed to kind of like be more important than the setting.
Right, right. And so Obi-Wan gets the high ground, which I also once again want to point out that Darth Maul had in The Phantom Menace. But the rules have changed, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how Anakin could have been that dumb, but he is very blinded by his new power, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of cool to see him just in one swipe of the lightsaber lose 3 of his best limbs.
I mean, it's his hubris.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
It's pretty obvious that like that was meant to be communicated.
You know what would have been awesome? If Lucas kind of played homage to Monty Python's The Holy Grail.
That Anakin get back up
and have, and Obi-Wan like chops off one of his arms, like, I still can take you. And he taps his leg. He's like, come on, man, it's over, Anakin. It's just a flesh wound. All right, we'll call it a draw. And he's burning up.
When Obi-Wan has his, you were the chosen one moment, to me, it's great. It's maybe his best moment as the character, his best performance, his best scene in the entire prequels. God, he sells the heartbreak of it, I think. And, there's a lot going on in that scene. He's basically watching his Padawan burn to death and also be, limbless in the process. And he's just like, yeah, I'm going to let you burn, you killed younglings, bro. So I'm not going to reach out a hand and save you.
You know what? It's justified.
But he's also torn by it. He's not like, serves you right. Don't turn to the dark side next time.
Yeah, he's still he's still in the midst of processing that, and just like the absolute 5 unthinkable things have just happened in the last hour.
Yeah. He's like, a day ago I was killing General Grievous and ending the war. What am I doing here right now? Murdering my Padawan.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously. That must be traumatic.
I mean, that's such an interesting motif of this whole movie, which is that all of these scenes have all of the characters that we're used to, or all the elements, but it's the wrong situation, or the wrong thing is happening. Everybody's intentions are going awry. Everything is going to shit. All the worst possible outcome is being plucked from all of these situations. It's creepy. It's gross.
I can't think of another blockbuster, like a summer blockbuster, that is this downbeat. Without, I mean, even though it does have some upbeat moments throughout it, but it ends on this beat that I can't imagine what it must have been like for families to go see this movie and walk out and be like, well, I guess that's how he turned to the dark side. Killed a bunch of younglings. All right, let's go to dinner.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, Anakin, of course, he gets his suit. He's he's Frankenstein's monster, and he's encased in a prison of his own making, and he, deserves it for sure. But what do you guys think when we finally get the famous suit? James Earl Jones voice.
No.
Yeah. No. Which I laughed when I first saw the movie. It works for me now. Again, I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old, but
no, and it doesn't work for me at all. Gosh, it would have been better if maybe he didn't yell no. Maybe if he just screamed, it would have worked for me. And then not only scream, but also have everything around him crumble and shake.
Yeah.
That would have worked for me. But the no part was just oh gosh, really? Did you really have to choose that to be your ending? You introduced one of the most iconic characters ever created in cinema history. The journey of a chosen one who was going to bring balance to the force, and then finally introduce the character that everyone loves to hate, and you have him scream no in the end of the movie, like a hokey 70s film. Come on, George, you could do better than that.
I disagree. I definitely think it's cornball for sure. But in like that kind of like George Lucas, enduring kind of cornball Paul type of thing. But I don't know. It again, I think it works. I think that, him stepping out and being awkward, getting used to like having robotic limbs, and Palpatine smiling about it, like, I've trapped you, I've got you. And I don't even need to worry about you anymore because you've how many midi-chlorians do you lose when you lose 4 of your
Who
limbs?
knows? Who knows at this point?
It's kind of like that, in between point where like Vader hasn't found his voice yet. I mean, it's interesting to hear Darth frickin' Vader, James Earl Jones, say the word Padme. Like, still finding your voice, okay.
Yeah, that's true.
But it is like kind of this like chilling and fading sense of humanity that we're seeing for the last time in this character, kind of fading out completely. Okay, the cheesiness, I definitely laughed the first time I saw that, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, just being invested in the downfall and the evil of this film, it's almost like it strikes as funny if you're not invested, because the truth is that exclamation is like such a grotesquerie. It's like, it is like something that's not ever supposed to happen. Like, this is the culmination of an evil so rich. It's just like,
maybe that's why I respond to it. It's that notion that maybe you're seeing, Vader, who was once Anakin, actually grappling with the weight of what has just happened. He's never getting out of this. He's always going to be on life support for like the rest of his life. He's always going to be in this suit. He's always going to be hidden from everyone. And it's such stark contrast from, what we saw in The Phantom Menace. And yeah, it's, I don't know. Again, I do agree that some of it is a little hokey, but I think it lands. And
the scene lands. I'm not denying that. It's just the no.
It's just the no. It's
that
just
took
the
me out.
no.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just the no. Everything else worked for me. Everything else, I could get behind this. This is dope. I especially like the symbolism there too, when it was cutting from Darth Vader to Padme, giving birth to Leia and Luke, and how she was like surrounded by white and light, and her outfit was white, and then he is surrounded by just darkness. His outfit was black. And I just like the whole, like you mentioned earlier about Obi-Wan and Anakin using the Force, but it's like two magnets that are positives. They can never mix, and that's what happened here. Padme and Anakin were never going to mix because Padme was just too good inside, and she was never going to turn to the dark side with him, and that's why she had to go. She had to die. He had to kill her essentially to break that last piece of, I guess, love that he had for life, or for the light side, if you want to call it like that. But yeah, I like, it worked for me, but just the no part was just the one I was like, oh, it took me out of that moment where I was like, whoa. It could have been a whoa moment for me, but it wasn't. It wasn't because of that no.
Yeah, I could see that. You also just reminded me of the whole Padme dying from a broken heart, and I've come to terms with that. Like, I think it works in terms of, the fantasy storytelling that's taking place in this movie. But I also think those droids need to be fired. Those medical droids, like, she's dying. We don't know why. It's weird.
Wait a minute. This isn't a doctor bot. This is a poet bot. God damn it.
Like, oh.
You see Anakin's dying or coming back to life, and she's, yeah, it's like poetry. It rhymes. And yeah, coming to the end of the film with the trip to Tatooine to hand off Luke to what's going to be a nightmare 20 years of his life living on the shittiest planet in the galaxy. We bring the entire franchise full circle with that binary sunset. And I don't know, like, I love it. I think that the way that he brings the whole thing full circle, I know that his preferred order to experience this now is 1 through 6, but I love the way we get 4 through 6. We come back, we see the fall of the Republic, the rise of the Sith, but it ends in this optimistic note. When you get, Luke, you get the Force theme, you get Tatooine, you start the movies right over again. You get to see, oh wait, no, this actually does have a happy ending, until you get to The Force Awakens. But that's for another podcast.
That's for the next
podcast. Do you guys have anything you want to add to to Revenge of the Sith before we move to the categories?
Yeah, I do. I just want to say that the story was here. There was a great story in this movie, but the movie just missed a lot of marks for me. But when I looked at the actual story, when I focused on the story from beginning to end, it could have been a great, fantastic film if it was executed well, without the mishaps of the acting and the dramatic beats and what have you. But yeah, I would say definitely a step up from episode 2. And of course, it gave us the moment we're all waiting for. We were curious to know how Anakin turned to the dark side and became Darth Vader, and we got to see it. And like I said, it was all there. The elements were there. It's just, for whatever reason, it didn't connect with me anyway. I know it connected with a lot of other people, but speaking for myself, it didn't really connect for me.
Well, I think ultimately, it didn't really connect with me 15 years ago. So I'll ask you in 15 years if it's connecting with you. So
I don't think it's going to ever connect with me, ever. I'm too. I guess you could say I kind of did a Darth Vader with my fanboy. I guess my fanboyness, I guess you want to call it. I kind of shrunk that, down and elevated my, I guess, critical writer's hat.
Yeah, for sure.
Now that I watch, films and stuff. So I don't think I'm ever going to connect with the mishaps ever, sadly.
I just love that it ends much like Rogue One, like with the appearance of the Tantive. Apparently this is the Tantive 3, which the one in A New Hope is Tantive 4. But in any case, it's like this visual shorthand for this period, whether it's 20 years before A New Hope or immediately at the beginning of A New Hope. This 20-year period is just like the Tantive, that distinctive white interior is just a visual shorthand for this period of time, whether it's in Rogue One, A New Hope, or Return of the Sith.
It's really interesting too that you go aboard the Tantive, we get Tatooine, we also get the construction of the Death Star, and all of these like little components are being put in place, like laying the groundwork for where we're going to start in A New Hope. And I actually, I don't want to step all over Rogue One, but I like this more nuanced approach to connecting the films, instead of like, hey, let's have it pick up, like right before the next movie takes place in a kind of hokey way. But yeah, I do like the way this movie connects to A New Hope. All right, guys, let's move on to our awards and demerits. Let's start with best ship or vehicle. Joseph, you start us off.
The spaceship that crashes into Coruscant at the beginning was General Grievous's ship, which you see a lot in the Clone Wars. Someone please save me from the Clone Wars. It's called the Invisible Hand.
Good choice.
How deep are you in Clone Wars right now?
I'm real deep. I'm seeing 2 different versions of it at this point.
You don't even know where the prequels begin and the Clone Wars end. Yeah. Oh, geez. Julius, what did you get?
I really dug Obi-Wan's connector ship before he jumps to Lightspeed. I don't know what that's called. I didn't get a chance to research and find out the name of that.
Oh, that's his. Yeah, that was my pick for Attack of the Clones. That was, his little Republic cruiser, his Jedi cruiser.
Yeah, dude. Wait, was that in Attack of the Clones?
It was, yeah, it was.
Shit, see how bad that movie was? I totally disconnected from that. I didn't catch that.
You need to rewatch it so that you could see that's where it originates.
Oh gosh, I'm not gonna watch it.
I actually had a little bit of a hard time with some of the categories on this one because a lot of it's sort of being recycled from the first 2 movies. But I did really like General Grievous's little like rolling wheel bike thing. I thought was really cool. I love when he gets into it and his limbs kind of like lock into place, and then he just like spins the wheel around when he's fighting with Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
Best weapon, gadget, or tech, Julius?
I don't think I couldn't pick one. I really, because like you said, it's all recycled, man. So I don't have one. I don't have one for this one that stuck out for me anyway.
How about you, Joseph?
Well, I mentioned it earlier, but the communicator that R2 had and the humor that they got from that was like, I think like one of the best moments in the prequels.
Great gadget for humor.
Yeah,
Just throwing the little walkie-talkie in his little. I love how it echoes in his inside of his
little
his
trash
dome
can
when he puts it in there. Yeah, it sounds like you actually threw it in a trash can, like your cell phone or something. Yeah, it's pretty great. This is kind of a cheat, but I picked like the technology that saves Vader.
Oh,
It's pretty cool.
yeah, there you go. I didn't even catch that.
They didn't even need to wipe him down before they shoved him in the suit. Like I guess it's self-cleaning. I don't know.
God, I hope so.
I mean, we do find out in Rogue One he spends a lot of his free time in a bacta tank. So, but yeah, I mean, like, I would be okay with losing limbs if we had like bionic limbs like that, and I could wear like a really like dope suit.
Just wait, maybe 20 years. It might happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, best droid. I picked the. So I kind of like the way that each of the prequels like introduce like a new type of battle droid, and I like the ones with the cape in this one that are kind of like helping. They're like the bodyguards for General Grievous, and they're called IG-100 Magna Guards.
Oh,
and they have like they wield that the staff, and they can even fight when they get decapitated. Like that's pretty cool,
That's cool. Oh, good choice.
Are they related to IG-88 at all?
Yeah, they're 12 versions later, right? If they're IG-100.
That math checks out, yeah.
Julius, what did you get?
I chose the Vulture droids.
Those are pretty cool. Yeah.
Those are cool. I saw those and I was like, hey, here we go. Now we're talking. This is like peak Star Wars right here for me. And I, like you said, George Lucas, the one thing that you have to give George Lucas credit for is his ability to know when something's going to work for the aesthetic of his films, and the way he picks the certain designs that the team he hires to help him design stuff for his Star Wars universe. And I thought the Vulture droids were great looking, and I wish I would have seen more of those in the movie.
They were a cool idea. Basically just used for that one scene, but really a bummer how they just ripped the head right off of R4. Poor R4. He was a good droid.
Yeah.
He was there for Obi-Wan in some tight spots, and he's featured a lot in Clone Wars, right, Joseph?
He's in there. Yeah.
Yeah. R.I.P. Did you get anything for best droid, Joseph?
I also picked the buzz droids.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's just it's a cool idea. You got you already had the dynamic of like the R2 droid is there to like give like some like almost like hand to hand combat while you're in the middle of a dogfight.
Right.
Like not only do you have to contend with the other fighter that's shooting at you, but like there's also stuff going on the hull of your own ship. So that added like more to that dynamic.
I also love that Anakin tries to like shoot them off and ends up like blowing Obi-Wan's wing off.
The hubris.
He just like didn't think that through. Okay. Best alien or creature, Joseph.
The connected to Grievous's little like round speeder thingy. The creature that Obi-Wan is riding in that chase scene. I was kind of thinking like when that chase scene was happening, like how much was this kind of like what Lucas was dreaming about when he was making the speeder chase in Return of the Jedi?
It is a really cool. I love again it's his limitless imagination to create like this creature that has like a very distinctive look and sound and just not the obvious choice when you're creating sequence in a set piece to have like, oh, and Obi-Wan of course is going to be riding on the back of this like weird kind of lizard creature. It's really cool.
And yet it's like fully in line with the way that there's always some interesting sound design with all the chases in Star Wars, although it's usually vehicles. Sorry, go ahead, please.
Oh, I was going to say that that lizard was actually a homage to John Mobius Gerard, who was a famous French comic book artist. There's a famous comic book piece that he drew in the 70s where it's that very thing, a guy riding a giant lizard creature in a desert planet. So I think that's where he got it from. Yeah, if you look up if you look up Mobius, the French artist Mobius, and just type in, giant lizard art piece, and it'll probably pop up. But yeah, I think that's where George Lucas got it from, because George Lucas has gone on record saying that he was a huge fan of John Mobius Gerard, growing up not growing up, but when he was in college.
What did you get for best creature?
Oh, the same.
You got the same one? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got the same one. Yeah, because I thought it was cool. I was like, oh, that's awesome. I've always wanted to see a movie where that was a thing, where a human rides this giant lizard and runs around and like that. I've always wanted to see that in the movie, and George Lucas finally gave it to us in this film, so it was cool.
Yeah, I guess he is a little bit more machine than a creature, but I picked General Grievous because I don't really know what kind of creature he is. He's not human, that's for sure. Right? And whatever's left of him is, he's not really necessarily a creature anymore, but he is just a real interesting, creation, and I love that I don't know anything about him. I could have looked his Wikipedia up and probably read the entire history of how he lost every piece of his body parts, but I like not knowing that. I like when Obi-Wan peeks in and just sees, a couple of organs in there that who knows how that happened, but it's really cool looking.
Yeah, it instantly just evokes like some kind of history.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, best location or planet. I picked Mustafar. I mean, there's not a whole lot of new options really in this movie. I just think it looks really cool. I would never want to go there, though. I want that to be clear. Right. I don't want to hang out on Mustafar. I just want to appreciate the the lava aesthetic. What'd you get, Joseph?
Okay, I have written here giant colorful flower Twi'lek Jedi Order 66 planet. So I guess it was the one that looked kind of like the planet from Avatar.
Yeah, it does look a little like Pandora, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm drawing a blank on the name of the planet and the name of the Jedi that gets shot a bunch of times in the back. What did you get, Julius?
I got I hope I'm getting the name right. Bashik, the Wookiee planet.
Kashyyyk.
Bashik, right? Yeah, that was my choice because I was like, finally, hey, a Wookiee planet. Sweet.
Wait, did you say Bashik or Kashyyyk?
Bashik with a B as in boy.
Bashik.
No, it's wrong.
It is clearly Kashyyyk.
Kashyyyk. My mistake.
Boy, I hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
I apologize to all my Star Wars fellow nerds out there for getting that wrong. On behalf of Breaking Canon and of myself, I apologize dearly for getting that name wrong. I should know better than that. But yeah, that was my pick for best location or planet.
Yeah,
because that's what I wanted, man. Since Jedi, I wanted a planet full of Wookiees, and then we finally got it in Episode 3.
Yeah, I wish it I don't know. I wish it played more of a role in the movie than just kind of being where Yoda's hanging out.
Yeah,
and I don't know if I'm 100% on board with them shoehorning Chewbacca into this movie, but whatever.
I dug it. I was like, hey, you know what? Cool.
That's the one pass you'll give this movie. You're like, yeah, that was cool. Everything else, you're like, nah, I'm coming to nitpick.
yeah, because it wasn't, you know what it was? It wasn't so much like, it was subtle, I guess. No, I guess not really subtle, but you could tell it was Chewbacca because the way the thing he was wearing, I was like, oh, that's Chewie. That's obvious Chewie, like Chewbacca. Like there's no denying that. But so it was cool that Yoda acknowledged it, at least just in passing. That was cool. I like that. I know. I could be inconsistent sometimes.
Most satisfying kill or death. I hope you didn't pick the Star Wars franchise, Julie.
No, that joke won't work a second time. That only works once. You only get one of those. For me, it was Dooku.
Same.
Dooku.
Same.
That was like you mentioned earlier. That was it was so cool. It was just like seeing that the lightsaber just scissored like. I was like, yeah, that's what I want to see in Star Wars. Lightsaber head cut off, So yeah, it was my pick.
I think I even remember distinctly when I first saw the movie, thinking like, oh hell yeah, it's about time we saw like something like that go down, And I also love that he like I said earlier, like he also cuts his arms off. Like it's crazy what he does to him. It's pretty great.
Yeah, from the second he cuts his hands off, he's like, Dooku is like clearly like shocked. He didn't think that was going to go that way at all.
Palpatine looks like he had a feeling though. It's interesting in a movie filled with kills and death, we all picked the same one
because it was cool, man. Like it was awesome. It was awesome to see something like that. You hardly ever see that in Star Wars, and it was cool to see it.
Like since we've been doing these categories, I feel like this was the kill that justifies this whole category.
This category,
here. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll see how it plays out in like when we get to Mandalorian. If we'll have to like change the categories around a little bit.
Oh.
But yeah. And hey, the next category, best force move. There's a lot of force moves in this movie. Which one did you pick, Joseph?
When Obi-Wan faces off with Grievous, Grievous says, some like bad guy shit about how he's going to take down Obi-Wan. And he's like, oh, I don't think so. And he like force pushes him. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I also love when he like force pulls the blaster. So uncivilized, and yeah, it's pretty great.
That's my pick for another category.
Worst fan service?
Something like that.
What'd you get, Julius?
I'm always a big fan of the force push, and I like the fact that they when Anakin and Obi-Wan are dueling and they do the whole like that. I just wish that Lucas did a little bit more extra, meaning perhaps to kind of showcase how powerful the force is, especially when they do that. If like everything around them was crumbling, while they were doing it, that would have been fucking dope if they did that. But that was my favorite. That was my choice, my pick.
I definitely thought of both of those, and the one that I went with, it was actually a little more subtle, and it's kind of a tie because Yoda does the same thing kind of twice, but I love when he decapitates the two clone troops. He kind of feels their presence, he feels them coming, and then he jumps up and you see their heads just fall behind them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, he's using the Force to jump the way that he does. And I also, and this is actually, I think my actual pick, is when he walks into Palpatine's chambers and knocks the red guards into the wall. Like, that is such a gangster move. Just straight up walk in and
yeah,
boom.
Hell yeah, that was dope.
Just, yeah, made me love the little green guy for sure.
Can I take my pick back? Because I just remembered.
Yeah, you can take it back.
I actually choose how Yoda collected the Force, the lightning from Palpatine and threw it back at him. That's a new. I've never seen that kind of Force move before. I don't know what that's called, but
he does that in Attack of the Clones.
Does he?
Yeah. Did you watch Attack of the Clones?
I blocked it out, man. I blocked it out, dude.
You straight up just read the Wikipedia and you're like, yeah, this movie still blows.
No, I watched the movie, but it was just like, it was like such a drag watching it. It's like,
that was probably a point you checked your phone, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like George Lucas took something that, you didn't really give a shit about in the last movie and did it even better in this one. So it counts more here. So
kind of like what Spielberg did with that Indiana Jones gag with the guy with the
yeah. With the coat hanger in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Supporting character most deserving of their own spinoff. I went with Bail Organa because I would love to see like a spinoff surrounding him and his contributions to the rebellion. And Julius, you mentioned earlier that scene where that Padawan comes out and starts kicking some ass, and
right.
I love the fact that like Bail Organa seems to be one of the only senators that still has like, principles, and he's actually trying to be engaged in what's going on and actually do something about things. And
yeah,
I was so happy to see him pop up when he does in Rogue One, and seeing him in this movie, I was just like, Jimmy Smits is an incredible actor. Like, I would just love to see a spinoff surrounding his character with, Jimmy Smits playing him. All the way up until he looks up and sees the laser coming down from the Death Star. Joseph, what did you get?
I chose Palpatine, although I guess this movie is actually that for him. I mean, he obviously he's around in the Star Wars, films and the universe, but this is really the one where we get to see him as a main character, and it's just right at the nexus point of all his machinations.
Yeah, for sure.
There are some comics that have him in them that are like in the new canon that fill out a
Mhm.
lot of his evil, which were pretty interesting.
Yeah, I seem to remember. I think there is a comic where Vader finally puts two and two together and realizes that like he wasn't the reason that Padme died or something. Like I don't remember exactly. It was a while ago, but yeah, it kind of is Vader coming to the realization that maybe he's been a pawn in Palpatine's game this whole time, which yeah, you should have picked up on that one like 20 years ago, bro, but anyways. What'd you get, Julius?
I chose Mace Windu. I would love to know how he became a Jedi. I would love to know, you know, just how badass he was. We got to see a glimpse of that in the Clone Wars animated show. But yeah, Mace Windu would be one that I would love to see a spin off of. Even if it's not Samuel L. Jackson, if they recast him in the Disney Plus shows, that'd be awesome to watch. Maybe they can even do a thing where he survives, the fall.
I'm just trying to figure out how he survives that, but
The
I
Force,
mean,
man. Maybe he uses the Force, but.
I guess if Darth Maul survived getting cut in half and falling down,
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, all right,
Exactly. Anything is possible, my friend. Anything is possible in the Star Wars universe.
that is true. I mean, I guess Palpatine kind of survived the same thing. Oh my
Exactly.
god.
You see? That'd be awesome. I would love to see that Mace Windu as a Ronin type of Jedi character, who's kind of like uh, still doing the good thing. Kind of like your Jimbo type of deal, or the man with no name type of deal. That'd be dope.
Wasn't there a rumor that the real identity of Snoke was Mace Windu for like a little while, like a fan rumor?
Oh wow, I never heard that rumor. Wow.
I seem to remember people being like, they're both bald.
Okay.
I literally remember this. Like maybe I'm making it up. I don't know, but I remember hearing that he was anyway.
Wow.
Okay. Best character overall. This has to be a 3-way tie, right, guys? It's got to be Sheev motherfucking Palpatine, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that was my pick too. Yep. He was the best part of the movie, bar none. Like absolutely. Like he. I complain a lot about the acting in this movie, and not just this movie, but also the prequels in general. But this character was consistent. He was believable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you couldn't help but respect the fact that he fucking under the noses of the Jedi was able to usurp the Republic's power and then take it all himself. And then finally, when he was ready to go, he fucking went for it all the way, 100%, without even blinking. So, yeah, he was definitely the best character.
I mean, I don't think there's any competition here whatsoever, especially when like, a lot of characters in the movie have their moments for sure, but I mean, this is his movie to lose. Like he did what was, I think, impossible for the Sith to do for, thousands of years. He finally did it, and he conquered the entire galaxy and held on to power for a really long time,
Plus, yeah, in a movie where there's so many people who are conflicted, or they're trapped in like dogmatic roles where they can't be who they want to be, Palpatine is living his #best life.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah,
he's just doing exactly what he wants to do.
Yep, 100%.
And all he really needed was the right Padawan to open him up so he could live his best life out in the open. He tried Maul, that didn't really work. Tried Dooku, he was too old. Anakin was the sweet spot. It's kind of a love story in a way, I think.
Yeah, Palpatine gave him his rose.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Best quote, Joseph.
I thought, okay, I had one that was just like Palpatine going, good. I just do that all day. It's great. But I thought it was interesting that he says, like when he's telling Anakin that he's studied the dark side, like he's like, if one is to understand the great mystery, one must study all of its aspects. And like that's kind of like, I don't know, just like a great phrase, the great mystery. Like I don't think we hear anybody ever describe the Force as that anywhere else in Star Wars.
You know what? I actually wrote that quote down in another section because I think that it speaks a lot to the problem with the Jedi, that the Jedi aren't open to the great mystery. And that's Palpatine's perspective, is that, this is the flaw of the Jedi. And yeah, I agree that it's a great quote. And Palpatine's got a lot of great quotes in this movie. I didn't end up picking Palpatine, but yeah, he's got some great ones, including, the aforementioned good.
Yeah.
And do it is great too.
Yeah. Do it.
Love me a good do it. Yeah. Julius, what did you get?
I got, is it possible to learn this power? Not from a Jedi. That was good writing, piece of writing right there.
Yeah, it's a great transition out of that scene too. Like, it's a great line to end a scene on, and it works really well. I picked the Obi-Wan quote, "You were the chosen one. It was said you would destroy the Sith, not join them, bring balance to the Force, not leave it in darkness." Cuts deep, man.
Great delivery too.
Yeah, well, even though that wasn't true, that wasn't, was that specified in the prophecy? Did I use that kind of language?
Well, that's the problem. They probably never actually read it.
Yeah.
It's probably in the Jedi books that Luke has on his planet in The Last Jedi. They're just like, yeah, none of them actually read the books. They're just like, they'll talked about the prophecy, like, yeah, it'll be really great when that chosen one shows up, and he'll bring balance to the Force. What does that actually mean, balance to the Force? Who knows? I'm sure it'll be good.
Yeah, they just assume, well, obviously that means we win.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Final category, peak Star Wars moment. Julius, you go.
Oh, the opening sequence, man. Like 100%. No doubt about it. Peak Star Wars for me is the Star Wars logo popping up in the screen, that intro to that John Williams score, and then that scroll, and then after that scroll, right into the action. That was peak Star Wars for me right there.
It's a peak Star Wars moment for sure. I definitely agree. Joseph, what did you get?
When Palpatine is force lightning Mace Windu, and he's going, power, unlimited power. I think that's just, that's like the just the cherry on top for all of Palpatine's planning and all of his reign afterwards.
He's got a lot of those moments in this movie, but there is something about, again, seeing him finally go full Sidious.
Yeah,
it's a wonder to behold. I picked Anakin and Obi-Wan's lightsaber battle because I'm basic, and I love balletic, overly choreographed laser sword scenes personally, so that's the one that I went with. And I gotta say, I think John Williams also plays a huge role in this. I really love his music in this film. It's matches the downbeat tone of the movie. It feels sweeping and tragic, and especially during that duel, it's just beautifully operatic, and I think underlines what's going on in that scene. But so yeah, that was my pick. All right, let's move into our final thoughts and personal rating. I'm gonna start with the naysayer first, Julius.
There's I already mentioned the problems I have with the movie, so I'm not going to repeat them because I don't want to. This is not a show about toxic fandom. But like I said, there's a great story here. It's just executed not. I don't want to say executed poorly. I will say executed satisfactorily. But I would say that this was probably the best one out of all three of the prequels for sure. Lucas was just hitting his stride again as a director and storyteller with this one. He just needed to, kind of shake off the acting, but he needed to get better with that so his actors can convey the story for the audience as well. So overall, my rating, I would give this a 7. That's my final rating.
That's cool. That's fair.
Yeah. Like I said, nitpicking, but it like as opposed to episode 2.
Yeah, right, right.
Is, way better, a step up. But yeah, I would say 7 because I was still entertained. There was a lot of moments in the movie where I was like, "This is fucking cool. Like this is pretty cool."
Right now, I'm thinking if I give this movie a 13, then we average at a 10. But I don't think I'm allowed to do that. So, Joseph, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm less down on it than Julius, but I was also going to give it a 7.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's not an original trilogy film, and it's not horrible, but like I don't know, like when I think of Star Wars, I don't necessarily think of this episode. Like this is a dark little corner of the Star Wars universe, and I don't know, it's got a lot of a strength to it. Like a Phantom Menace was also kind of a rediscovery. I think this one was as well.
For me, I think that this movie is an 8. Up until that midway section where I think it actually starts to maneuver into a 10. I think it really becomes a great film. So I kind of split my average into a 9. I love pretty much everything in this movie. I think there are a few awkward moments. And in a lot of ways, it pays off, I think, what I was talking about in The Phantom Menace, which is that I think that there's a lot of great things in The Phantom Menace, but there's a few clunky things that just, like, I don't know, they distract me so much that I just couldn't, like, fully get on board with it. And with this movie, I feel like there's definitely some moments that you can nitpick for sure, but they don't bug me that much. And, ultimately, kind of like Return of the Jedi, another movie that I think is, got some deep problems with it, it still has great moments and some of my favorite moments in the entire franchise. So giving this one a 9, guys, and it looks like our average is going to be a 7.6. Just that's fair.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think so.
Better than what we got last time.
Yeah,
and like my main thing, like I always say, is there's got to be some kind of emotional roller coaster ride when it comes to films, especially like films like Star Wars, and it didn't hit it didn't hit that for me for the prequels as it did the original trilogy. The original trilogy, you leave feeling something, hope, excitement, whatever the case may be. That's a sign of a good film, of a great film, is that it leaves you thinking about it. It leaves you like, I want to watch it again. I love the characters, that kind of deal. And this one, it didn't do that for me, especially for the prequels. And of course, the next episode we'll talk about the Disney trilogies and share my thoughts on those movies.
Can't wait, because I know you love those movies. So
I only liked one of them.
Okay, well, don't reveal which one.
Yeah, I won't reveal it until we get there. But yeah, I really liked one of them. But like I said, we'll wait.
All right. You can find more episodes of Star Wars Breaking Canon at breakingcanonpodcast.com. You can follow us on Twitter at SWBC Podcast. If you want to support our podcast, please rate and review us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. On the next episode of Star Wars Breaking Canon, we will be discussing 2015 Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Until then, thanks for listening, and may the Force be with you.
Good.